Hello, curious minds. Welcome to this intellectual journey. Have you ever wondered what truly separates science from mere opinion or pseudoscience? Or why certain political ideas inevitably lead to tyranny? Today we'll unravel these questions. Before we begin, a brief note. To bring this narration to life, I've used artificial intelligence tools to generate the images you see. Think of them as a canvas, a way to illustrate the ideas in the atmosphere of what we're discussing. I truly hope you enjoy it. Our protagonist today is Karl Popper, an Austrian thinker who lived in the eye of the hurricane of the 20th century. His philosophy not only changed how we understand the scientific laboratory, but also how we understand democracy and freedom. To understand Popper, we must travel to Vienna in the 1920s. It was a cauldron of revolutionary ideas. Freud's psychoanalysis was booming, Marxism promised a paradise on Earth, and Einstein's physics was rewriting the cosmos. The young Popper noticed something unsettling. There was a fundamental difference between Einstein's attitude and that of his Marxist or psychoanalytic friends. While some sought to confirm their theories at all costs, Einstein risked being refuted. This observation sowed the seed of his great contribution to the philosophy of science, the problem of demarcation. How do we distinguish real science from metaphysics or pseudoscience? The traditional answer was induction, but Popper shattered it. Let's talk about induction. For centuries, it was thought that science worked by observing the world and accumulating data. If I see the sun rise 1,000 days in a row, I conclude that the sun always rises. Seems logical, right? Well, Popper tells us that's a serious logical error. Here enters the famous metaphor of the swans. Imagine you are a European biologist in the 18th century. You've seen thousands of swans, and all of them are white. Your inductive mind tells you that all the swans in the world are white. It's an apparent truth based on experience, but then you travel to Australia and see a single black swan. Suddenly, your universal theory that all swans are white collapses. 1 million confirmations don't prove the truth, but a single refutation demonstrates falsehood. This asymmetry is the heart of Popperian thought. We cannot prove that something is absolutely true. We can only prove that it is false. Truth is a horizon we approach but never fully possess. That's why Popper proposes falsificationism. A theory is scientific only if it risks being proven false. It must make predictions that, if not met, force the theory to be discarded. If an idea cannot be proven false, it isn't science. Let's think about astrology. Horoscopes are so vague that they always seem to hit the mark. They don't take risks. If they tell you that you'll have good luck, anything good counts as confirmation. That, for Popper, is pure pseudoscience because it's irrefutable. In contrast, Einstein's theory of relativity made risky predictions. It stated that light would bend around gravity by an exact amount. If, when measured during an eclipse, that didn't happen, the theory would die. Einstein put his neck on the line. Popper admired that intellectual audacity. Science doesn't advance by confirming what we already know. It advances by killing our own beloved theories. It advances by trial and error. It's a natural selection of ideas where only the fittest survive. This changes the image of the scientist. No longer is he the sage who possesses the truth. He is a humble explorer who knows that his knowledge is provisional. Everything we know today could be refuted tomorrow, and that is something wonderful. Now this leads us to a crucial concept, corroboration. If a theory survives fierce attempts to refute it, we say it's corroborated. It's not true in an absolute sense, but it's the best tool we have for now. Popper introduces the idea of verisimilitude here. We cannot reach the ultimate truth, but we can have theories that resemble the truth more closely than others. Science is a progression toward greater verisimilitude, discarding errors step by step. But Popper didn't stop at physics. He realized that this logic of error had profound implications for society and politics. If no one holds absolute truth, then no one has the right to impose their will on others. This leads us to his political masterpiece, The Open Society and Its Enemies. Written during his exile in New Zealand, while the Nazis were ravaging Europe, it's an intellectual battle cry against totalitarianism of any stripe. In this book, Popper attacks those he calls the false prophets, Plato, Hegel, and Marx. He doesn't deny their genius, but he accuses them of laying the intellectual foundations for tyranny. Their common crime is historicism. Historicism is the belief that history has a pre-written script, inexorable laws that determine the destiny of humanity. Be it the utopia of Plato's Republic or Marx's final communism, Popper says this is false and dangerous. The future is not written. It depends on our decisions. Believing that we know history's ultimate destiny justifies sacrificing people today for a supposed paradise tomorrow. For Popper, Plato was the first great enemy of freedom. In his ideal republic, the state controls everything. The philosopher kings know the truth and therefore have the right to dictate how everyone else should live. This idea that the wise should govern is tempting but fatal. Because remember epistemology, no one is infallible. If we give absolute power to someone because we believe they are wise, what happens when they make a mistake or when they become corrupted? Popper proposes changing the fundamental political question. Instead of asking who should govern, we should ask how we can organize institutions to remove bad rulers without bloodshed. This is the essence of democracy for Popper. It is not the rule of the majority, because the majority can also be tyrannical. It is a damage control system, a mechanism for peacefully correcting errors. Here emerges the concept of the open society. It is a society that recognizes that no one has a monopoly on the truth, where criticism, debate, and diversity of opinions are allowed. It is a society that accepts the risk of freedom. Opposite it is the closed society, the tribal society, where custom and authority are sacred, where the individual doesn't count, only the collective. It's a return to the security of the maternal womb, but at the cost of our humanity. Popper understands the appeal of totalitarianism. Freedom is a burden. Having to decide for oneself generates anxiety. The totalitarian leader promises to lift that burden, promises certainty and security in exchange for your obedience. But that security is an illusion. A society that suppresses criticism condemns itself to stagnation and error. Just as in science and politics we need criticism to detect errors and improve our laws, this leads us to piecemeal social engineering. Popper despised revolutionaries who wanted to erase everything and start from scratch. That's utopian engineering. And it always ends in disaster because society is too complex. Instead, he proposes small, concrete adjustments. Reforming an education law, improving a healthcare system, changes that we can monitor. If it goes wrong, the damage is limited and we can correct it. It's the scientific method applied to politics. However, the tolerance of the open society has a limit. It is the famous paradox of tolerance. Popper warns that if we are limitlessly tolerant, even of the intolerant, tolerance itself will be destroyed. Now, this doesn't mean prohibiting every disagreeable idea. It means we reserve the right to prevent, even by force if necessary, those who reject rational debate and use violence to impose themselves. Now, let's delve into his ontology. Popper proposed the theory of the three worlds. It's a fascinating way to understand reality. World 1 is the physical world: stones, stars, our brains, atoms. World 2 is the world of our mental states: consciousness, feelings, dreams, subjective pain. It is our internal and personal experience of being alive. But here comes the genius part, World 3. It is the world of the products of the human mind: books, scientific theories, symphonies, numbers. These things once created acquire a life of their own. Think of prime numbers. We invented them, but their properties no longer depend on us. There are mysteries in numbers that we haven't discovered yet. World 3 is objective and autonomous, even though it originates from us. This World 3 is where cultural evolution occurs. It's where our theories reside. And the most important thing is that we can let our theories die in our stead. In nature, the animal that makes a mistake dies. In human culture, we can formulate a hypothesis, criticize it in World 3, and discard it without us having to perish. This accelerates our evolution at a dizzying pace. We are the only species that does this. Popper was also a fierce critic of relativism. Nowadays, it's fashionable to say that everyone has their own truth. For Popper, this is a betrayal of reason. An objective truth exists, even if it's difficult to reach. If we deny objective truth, only power remains. If we can't debate what is true based on facts, then the loudest voice wins, or the one with the biggest weapon. Truth is the shield of the weak. Critical rationalism is Popper's ethical attitude. It is summarized in a beautiful phrase: perhaps I am wrong and you are right, and with an effort we can get closer to the truth. It is an invitation to humble dialogue. This attitude requires courage. It requires admitting that we don't know everything. It requires listening to those who think differently, not to tolerate them out of politeness, but because they might hold the missing piece of the puzzle. Popper had critics, of course. Thomas Kuhn, for example, argued that scientists aren't always so rational and that they cling to their paradigms out of faith. Popper admitted that this happens, but he insisted that it is bad science. Despite the criticisms, Popper's legacy is immense. He taught us that certainty is a trap, that knowledge is an endless adventure, and that the open society is fragile and must be defended every single day. In a world where algorithms enclose us in echo chambers of opinion and fanaticism resurfaces, Popper is more relevant than ever. He reminds us that the other is not an enemy to be destroyed, but a companion in the search for truth. His philosophy is an antidote against dogma. It vaccinates us against those who claim to have the final solution for all our problems. It invites us to be skeptical, to be critical, but also to be optimistic about our capacity to solve problems. Popper said that optimism is a duty. The future is open. It depends on us, on our actions and our intelligence. We are not pawns on a historical chessboard. We are the players. So the next time you hear an infallible theory or a utopian political promise, remember Popper. Look for the black swan. Ask what it would take to prove that it is false. That question is your best defense. Science is not a body of sacred truths. It is a method, a way to dialogue with reality, accepting that reality always has the last word, and that word is often a resounding no. And democracy is not perfect. It is noisy, slow, and sometimes frustrating, but it is the only system that allows us to learn from our mistakes without violence. And that, my friends, is a civilizational achievement worth protecting. In the end, the lesson is humility. We are fallible, all of us, from the most brilliant scientist to the most powerful politician, recognizing that fallibility is the first step toward wisdom. Popper passed away in 1994, but his voice resonates in every laboratory where a result is questioned, in every parliament where a law is debated. His spirit lives in fertile doubt. We have journeyed from the logic of scientific research to the ethics of freedom. I hope this journey has given you tools to think better, to not settle for the first answer. Philosophy is not just for academics in ivory towers. It is for life. It is for navigating the uncertainty of our days. And Popper is one of the best captains we can have on this voyage. Let's reflect for a moment on how we apply this in our daily lives. How many times do we only seek information that confirms our views? That's confirmation bias. Popper invites us to actively seek out what contradicts us. It's uncomfortable, yes. No one likes to admit they were wrong, but real growth only occurs in that discomfort. When our beliefs clash with reality and break, that's when we learn something new. Returning to science, think about medicine. We want treatments that have undergone rigorous testing, that have been attempted to be refuted and have resisted. We don't want medicine based solely on positive anecdotes. The same applies to economics. Economic policies are hypotheses. If we implement a measure and poverty increases, we must have the honesty to say that the hypothesis failed and change course, not blame conspiracies. Popper warns us against essentialism. Obsessing over defining what words mean instead of discussing real problems. Let's not discuss what democracy is, let's discuss how to improve our institutions. This pragmatic approach is liberating. It pulls us out of endless semantic discussions and puts us to work on solutions. It's a philosophy for action, not just for contemplation. Let's also recall his critique of psychoanalysis of his time. Popper felt that it explained too much. If a man saves a child, it's sublimation. If he drowns him, it's repression. A theory that explains everything explains nothing. The true strength of a theory is its prohibition. The more things it prohibits from happening, the stronger it is. The law of conservation of energy tells us that energy is not created from nothing. It prohibits perpetual motion. If tomorrow someone builds a perpetual motion machine, current physics collapses. That's the risk physics runs. And that's what gives it its immense value. We know it's solid because it has survived that constant risk. Let's move on to the legacy of the open society today. The internet promised to be the ultimate tool for the open society. Free information for everyone. But Popper might warn us about echo chambers. If we use freedom to enclose ourselves in digital tribes that hate outsiders, we are reverting to the closed society. Technology is neutral. A critical attitude is what matters. Tribalism is a strong emotion. It makes us feel secure. Belonging to a group that holds the truth with a capital T is comforting. Popper asks us for intellectual maturity to resist that childish temptation. Maturity implies accepting the solitude of responsibility. You are responsible for your beliefs. You cannot fully blame history, your social class, or your genes. You have agency. It is a demanding philosophy. It offers no easy comforts. It doesn't tell you that you'll go to heaven or that revolution will bring paradise. It tells you that you have work to do and that you will probably make mistakes along the way. But in that effort lies human dignity, in trying to understand this fascinating universe and in trying to reduce the suffering of our fellow beings through rational reforms. Popper teaches us to distrust charismatic leaders, those who speak with too much certainty. He prefers the leader who says, "I believe this is the way, but keep an eye on me in case I'm wrong." That is the difference between a democratic politician and a demagogue. The demagogue knows the truth. The Democrat has hypotheses. Do you see how epistemology becomes civic ethics? Everything is connected. So my friends, cultivate your garden of hypotheses. Don't fall in love with your ideas. Treat them as tools. Use them while they work, and when they break, look for better ones. No regrets. Intellectual life is a process of constant clearing, of discarding the old and false to make room for the new and plausible. It is a continuous recycling of the spirit. Karl Popper was a giant, a man who saw empires fall and dictatorships rise, and who responded with the force of logic and compassion. His work is a beacon in the fog of misinformation. Reading Popper is like opening a window in a stuffy room. fresh air comes in. Sometimes cold, sometimes sharp, but always invigorating. It awakens us from dogmatic slumber. I hope this journey has inspired you to read him directly. His books are clear and straightforward. He didn't hide behind obscure jargon. He wrote to be understood, another trait of his honesty. We've been together for quite some time now. We've deconstructed falsificationism, the open society, the three worlds, and the paradox of tolerance. These are pillars for building a free mind. Remember, we are all philosophers. We all have theories about how the world works. The difference is whether we are aware of them and willing to criticize them. That is today's invitation. Don't be afraid to be wrong. Be afraid to believe that you have absolute rightness. Error is our friend. Error is the teacher who never lies. I want to thank you for dedicating your time, the most valuable resource you have, to thinking with me. In a world of fast noise, pausing to reflect is a revolutionary act. If this video has sparked something in you, if it has made you question something you took for granted, then my mission is accomplished. Keep that flame burning. I am your companion on this journey of knowledge. Thank you for being there on the other side of the screen, sharing this insatiable curiosity to understand who we are and where we are. What Popperian idea impacted you the most? The black swan or the paradox of tolerance? Let me know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe to continue exploring humanity's great ideas. Until next time.